Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and orators. Rabbit here, and we have the Tyrannog once again. In the last time, we were moving our troops to take the second and hopefully final throne. Although, if the enemies really did start next to a throne, then I imagine that this or the next turn will probably be when we lose or win. So, like I said, this game has been sort of built to be a bit quicker than other people might prefer, but I think it's a good way to showcase. Oh, I forgot, she mirror images herself, and they just kind of hit each other repeatedly. Independent armies eroded. Din, 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 din. Now, the Tyrannog assassins are more survivable. The Babaoan City, I really don't know how to pronounce that. I'll probably have to look it up at some point. However, they do have a life drain, which I believe causes them to drain HP to refill their own HP. That being said, it would be a good idea to just sort of get them a few things. I would like you to assassinate enemy commander. The fewer commanders that they have on this battlefield, the better, because it'll make it easier to take, because there's less morale that the enemy has to play with. I believe we were messing around with the two Alpha Sorceresses. In addition, I wanted to do this, an army setup. What does she set up to do? I also noticed something, and that is that the songs that are played by our casters have a tendency to not really come into effect. Have a tendency to not really come into effect due to the, let's see, hold and attack, closest enemy, and then we'll hold their position for 2 turns before advancing. Archers will fire instead of holding if a target is in range. Yep, that's what I want. And I would like you to for target closest enemy. Hold and attack closest enemy. That's good. Just simply because it was unfortunately noticed that our troops were kind of ass. Who would have thunk it? Where's this guy? This guy is about right there. So I will place him about there. And I would like you to hold and attack the closest enemy. Now, in addition, the reason that people have been wondering, people have been wanting me to actually explain how I do things a little bit more. And I will be using this guy, by the way. Let's just have him stay behind troops. And these guys will fire at the enemy archers. They're gonna be about there. We're going to cover our uppermost flank. Okay, so people wanted me to explain why I am doing various specific things. The reason I am having Moirin over here assassinate enemy commanders is because without proper leadership, troops, especially independent troops, are more likely to rout. So basically, they'll instantly leave a fight, effectively. Recruit units. Can I recruit any more for this person? Do not have the resources to do so, unfortunately. I could get, well, no, I couldn't even get militia, could I? That sucks. So, in addition, it's very likely that either here or here is where our opponent is. You can tell that because of their Dominion. They must be not a very good Dominion pretender. I should stop doing that. Whereas, let's look at research. Whereas our pretender is mediocre at Dominion. He works for construction of lesser magical items and evocation. Let's see. Now then, this game may actually be over before Our God comes into effect, so I'm just going to hardline evocation. And can you forge magical item? Thunder Whip. Now I find these rather interesting, just simply because I'm strange and I enjoy having the D&D type, ooh, what does this bit of loot do kind of sensation. I don't know if that really explains things totally. That being said, longbow of accuracy. Arrows fired from this bow will find their intended target regardless of distance. You can see it does decent amounts of damage, has decent range, and it has a... Jesus Christ, that's actually really good. It's definitely very good. What's fired from this crossbow are extremely sharp and will go straight through any shield or armor in their path. The piercer can also be used underwater. Yes, it's useful. Hammer of the Mountains, not exactly the best. However, Dwarven Hammer is actually pretty good. It reduces the amount of... basically, anyone that wields a Dwarven Hammer instantly produces supply for the place he's in. What does this do? I never really play around with Air Nations is why I'm looking at this. They make very good evokers, but it looks like their loot is actually... like, it looks like their items are actually pretty good. With earth and air to make it both strong and light. Symbols of power are inscribed on the surface of the shield to protect the bearer from missiles. Not bad. And don't really have any helmets here. Robe of missile protection. Lightweight scale mail. 1 encumbrance shape. It's not exactly very good, I'll be entirely honest. Because it has 1 encumbrance. Now, and it has mediocre protection. You can tell it's mediocre because look at this shit. For a little bit less defense and a little bit more encumbrance. Weightless scale mail. Now see, this one is actually fairly decent. Fine scale mails are enchanted with air magic, making the armor almost weightless. Copper plate. Oh, this one provides you with shock resistance. It's good at fending off other air mages. Okay, so the boots are actually really interesting. Boots of giant strength just make you do damage. It makes you do additional damage. These boots give you trample, which allows you to run through people, which is kind of a dick move, I'll be entirely honest. Amulet of breathing. This will anyone wearing this item will be able to breathe underwater, and I think that gives you certain things. So, ring of warning. This allows the wearer to be protected by twice as many bodyguards as usual during assassination attempts. That's decent if you have bodyguard units, I suppose. Ring of levitation. Useful for not getting your boots dirty as well as evading earthquakes. That is true. Now, the reason... oh, sorry, hit my mic there. I am so sorry. Amulet of missile protection, amulet of breathing, lodestone amulet. I forget what the lodestone amulet actually does. Enchanted lodestone that gives the wearer some protection from magical attacks, so it's just magical resistance. This gives you more precision. It's cursed. It effectively replaces one of your eyes. A man will improve the eyesight of his remaining eye enormously. This can be very useful for archers or mages who need to target enemies at long distances. It's not bad, however the thing that we want is the owl quill. The pen writes down everything its owner says, making research better. It gives +6 research for just 5 air gems. And I don't believe we actually have any... let's look at research. I don't believe we actually have any air summoning rituals. Nope, we do not. We don't even have summon storm power. This spell only works during a storm, which sucks a lot. And this is a combat thing. So you call of the winds, summon an amphitheater. Summon an amphitheater. The amphitheater is winged serpents, almost the size of an elephant. It can fly and its breath is poisonous. That actually makes it pretty good for us. Because it's a trample unit, it has a poison breath, which is... that's just death. Because you can't... armor doesn't work against poison. Just saying. So our research is going to take a bit of a dip for now, but when we get the owl quills running, we will be able to research even more. That being said, do we have any enchantment? No, we don't really. Well, the thing is that the game might be over before we have to deal with enchantment, is the thing. Okay, so there's no one going there, and army setup. I'm just, yeah. In turn, Morin tried to assassinate the Mergo Circle Master. Please tell me you succeeded. Please. Cast Ray Skeletons, cast Windrunner, cast Ray Skeletons, cast Air Shield, cast Ray Skeletons. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Well, she managed to kill one of them. There was a battle in Menace. Hellcarl, Valkyries, Hellherzings, Huskarls. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Because this will give you a good knowledge of how Helheim works. So these guys even had elephants. That's actually really hard to deal with for Helheim normally, because the elephants can just trample over your... Oh god, that was loud. Can just trample over your guys and remove their mirror image. Same with archers, because defense doesn't really come into effect when you're having to deal with archers. Cavalry stuck around. Oh. Okay then. So their troops just blasted through them, apparently. That's a shitty thing to do. Now, let's see. Research. Let's have you have an Alquil. And now she researches at 19. So we have vastly more research, and I'm going to be making another couple of those. Because they're very good. And the thing is that they take up one of the least used, or one of the... Yeah. Yeah, we don't even have a ritual spell, we don't even have another use for those magical gems and whatnot. The coffee for today is hazelnut, by the way. Now, that being said, alchemy can be used to turn magical gems into astral pearls or some type of gems into gold. It can also be used to turn astral pearls into magical gems of all types. Alchemy is instantaneous. I would actually like her to research for now. For now, at the very least. And we don't really have much more in the way of... Yeah, our treasury is getting eaten at current. Army setup. I want the archers to be there. Okay, looks like we're ready to move out. If we can take this, we will win. It's that simple. The spell, the mighty... Oh, they're not even... They're not in either of these. That's interesting. I'm actually going to move there instead. Well, that being said, it appears as though they're probably here if they're not in either of these, as the Dominion tends to speak towards that. There's no one left to move, so end turn. Search and evocation is complete. The battle on Kamiya. Let's view the research. So lightning bolt. Yeah. Just having this is not that bad. There's a battle on Kamiya. Let's view the battle first and foremost. Now we know that the people here partake in necromancy. That kind of inflates their numbers a little bit. With that being said, we managed to get rid of one of the normal guys. It probably would have gone better if I could have hooked up our mans with... God damn it. Someone got hit for 105. Okay, Song of Bravery is out. I managed to take out 2 of their archers. Okay, let's speed things up a little bit. Oh, they're throwing out lightning bolts, and then they're raising it. Yeah, this is going to be a much harder fight. Pillars with mages are much harder fights than normal, just simply because of just simply because of how good mages are. That being said, our holy warriors are actually like beating the shit out of them, so that's kind of nice. Let's take a look at their morale. Their morale is 18, really high. Their morale is 11, but they're taking on wounds. This kind of sucks. Okay, someone back here is routing. We need to get to those archers, what we need to do. Because if we can take out the archers, then it'll be much easier to take them the next time around that we come through. Okay, there we go. We've been in melee combat with the archers, and we're starting to just chew through them. Which is probably the best thing. Okay, and now we're starting to get to the mages. I think at this point we've pretty much won. We do still need to get through their heavy infantry bodyguards, but that being said, our sacred warriors are just chewing through them. That's fine. Okay. Sacred warriors are chewing through them. If we can manage to kill the rest of the mages, then we should be good. Yep, there we go. And that's our victory. How much did we lose? We lost none of our commanders. We actually had relatively few losses. We lost some of our Furbolg warriors, some of our Forbolg slingers. That's fine. They're our cheap chaff units. We kind of expect to lose them. The loss of 2 Tuatha warriors, now that was actually a blow. But the fact that we only lost 2 of them, but we killed all of these, is really good. The archers did their job, from what I could tell, which was just to be a nuisance. Okay, so Chaplain claims Threat of Ascension. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to bump this up really rather high because I do not want to lose this. Mighty Pillars, Cloud Breakers, Merovian. Here we go. This is Helheim. That being said, why haven't they taken this? Okay, Mor is going to search for magical sites. I'm also going to increase the defense in this province by a little bit. Just as much as I can get, really. And I would like you... I can't have him construct anything. So Lano is going to... So, Lano, you're going to go over here. Did you not come with us? The fuck you doing? You can search for magical sites. Lukta. And let's end this person's research. And you are going to forge magical items. You're just going to keep forging those until we have enough, basically. And yes, I could be getting more research if I added him onto the research queue. However, that's already 12 research for 2 turns of 9. In the long run, not as good. In the short run, or well, in the short run, not as good. In the long run, much better. Plus, it gives us something to use these gems on, and if they're just if a resource is just piling up in a strategy game, then you know something is fucked. Like very, very heartily fucked. She's searching and research. How's research going? It's at 55. We need 70. So I think. Yep, we won. Okay. Jatan the Furbolg has claimed the throne of air. In the name of Crow of Winter, our god didn't even get to come out. Mor has searched Kamiya for magic sites, but none were found. That's fine. Kewame has searched Kesta. An unexpected occurrence. Vilnius has tried to seize control of the province and failed. There was a battle in Ealdmere. Villains, they got their ass beat. Let's just take a look at that before we look at the victory screen. I think that was actually my first victory. It was kind of cheap. And some would say that it was a very rush-heavy victory. But you can play this a lot longer than I did. It's just, I made this a short game by design. They're already routing. You have my pity. Why, you're fighting monkeys. Why are you routing? And then victory. Victory, you reign supreme. You are the Pantocrator. Your enemies are cast down, broken, dead, enslaved, or imprisoned. Probably dead, considering we're an underworld raven. You were the sole author of fate. You summon the tides, dictate the seasons, give or withhold fortune and life. Light up the sun at dawn and quench its fires at dusk. All move according to your will, endless eons pass. But then, at some unknowable time, there is a change. Something stirs in the void. You perceive something reminiscent of ancient longings and doubts you thought forgotten. Perhaps suggestive of a sight unseen or a tune unheard. What is this thing, this longing, this faraway fleeting enigma? You lift your presence from the world and ascend from the throne and rush into the void, racing after that receding, beckoning something. Borne on wings of absolute authority, you race further and further away, chasing that soul thing which you do not understand, still further away. Leaving the world behind you, it becomes a fleeting memory, a distant dream, a tune unheard, a sight unseen. Down on the world, you left behind old serpents and enemies. Feel their chains loosen, doors thought forever shut are slowly creeping open. Ancient things long thought dead stir. The throne sit empty, but hungry eyes have turned their gaze upon them, sensing a new dawn. Basically, this is how the Pantocrator left in the first place. And now we can take a look at the map. We now have infinite knowledge about the map, so I'm kind of curious as to what their armory was. National overview. I can't see it there. Pretenders of the world, perhaps? Pentheste. No, I can't see it. Damn it. I can't actually see what their god was. Damn. That's kind of sad. But let's see. Which one did we claim? I think we claimed the one of air, if I recall correctly. So, statistics, Thrones of Ascension. Okay, so this was the level 2 throne. This one would have been probably the best one to get at the first of the thing, but it was unfortunately also the one that would have ended the game. So if we would have gotten that first and foremost, we would have just won immediately and not have really been able to benefit from it. Okay. Now, on top of that, what was this one? This was the low throne, this was the throne of air, so that would make this one the throne of beasts, which would have given them 2 nature gems per turn, spreads dominion 1, and blessed troops get animal awe. That's actually a pretty good one. I honestly would have preferred to get that one rather than the low throne. So, for the people that wanted me to explain why and what I was doing, the Tyrann and Og are very... I don't really understand their strength personally, as I haven't played this game enough to really understand their strength. I do know that any air-dominated place tends to have quite high evocation wizards, just simply because you can lightning bolt motherfuckers just constantly, and it's only at like 10 fatigue. You can also get research up really quick, which if I would have done maybe focusing in on construction to get the feathers rather quickly, rather than hopping back and forth between these 3, and then got the feathers up and running while getting evocation, it probably would have gone better if this would have been a longer game. That being said, this was a suitable game to give people a bit of a taste of how things work in the game. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's not like I'm not going to answer. That being said, this has been Rabbit, and this has been Dominions. I'll probably play some more, but of a different race, possibly Katis, or maybe Shabolba. I'm not really one for Shabolba because I'm not really one for blood mages. Just, I don't care for it. It's finicky, and it's annoying. I could also go with a few others, but for now, Katis is kind of what I'm really looking forward to playing. Just simply because of looking at the Scotleigh Swamps, where we actually encountered the Katis, it would probably be a good way to segue into it, as sort of the once subjugated peoples now rising after the yoke of the Crow of Winter has left them. Whereas Helheim is very good, however, their issue is they kind of need to be directed. When in the hands of an AI, they're very hard to combat just simply because the AI is going to dick slap you really hard with them. But if you just kind of poke at them, it's much harder for the AI to respond to that. And by poke at them, I mean if we'd sent an army like here, like over here, if we just pincered them and attacked them in multiple different directions, it would have fucked with the AI, because the AI is the type where they have a bunch of little tiny 1 or 2 man armies and one really fucking big army. I personally play this more as a old-fashioned strategy game where your commanders can only hold, because the thing is that let's just take a look at the army that we had moving around for a while. These commanders can only hold so many units, and yeah, this guy had a lot of units, but she only had like 40. You can have one super mega army, which is what you can have in his case, but in this case it's actually better to have mages, and mages don't tend to have leadership. So you tend to want a bunch of commanders moving around all together if you want that sort of super army. But what that also allows you to do is you can break that super army apart and have it conquer smaller things. So a good way to play it would have been I for instance go with, let's see, a good way to play it would have been if you could recruit champion or commanders fast, if you weren't tied to one commander per round, which is something they fixed in Dominions 5, and I'm very much so looking forward to Dominions 5 just simply due to that change, because it is in line with how I like to play this game. The whole one commander thing, it kind of leans more towards you just having few but large armies, whereas this game leans more towards having many but weak armies. So, for instance, in Dominions 5, the Furbolg Champion, you could probably get like 2 or 3 of them a turn, and in that instance, you could load them all up with troops and just completely smash a motherfucker, just right in the fucking face. And it's not a very nice thing to do, but that's a lot more in line with how armies actually functioned in these eras. You didn't just have one general. Yes, you had higher generals that were much more heavily storied, but those were very rare. It was more often you'd have lieutenants and just commanders, like the rank commander, that would go about actually how to explain it, that would go about what's the word, messages, that would go about with their little armies, and then you'd have commanders join up if they needed assistance in taking a larger force, such as a fortress, or in this case a throne, which is what I had happen. You would have a bunch of commanders with smaller armies team up to make one big fucking army, which, you know, it happened, in order to take a throne. However, I've noticed a lot of people either tend to play the sort of thugs with grunts type thing, where you have your best blessed priest commander and a bunch of your holy units in his army, and you just have little small armies of that where they could just bless the fuck out of themselves and then start smashing the ever-loving shit out of everything around them. So in that instance, let me look at recruit units. So in that instance, let's see, Sid Lords, yeah, these guys. You could pump out one of these every turn, and then a bunch of Tuatha warriors, and just the amount of Tuatha warriors would... You might get 2 or 3 turns worth of Tuatha warriors for every Sid Lord. In that instance, it might be better to just pump out a Re and then just pump out Tuatha warriors every other turn. In order to get that Thugs with Grunt things going, but I don't really like relying on blessings too much. I mean, having a decent bless is a good idea, just simply because it makes your sacred units worth buying. Because if you look at sacred units on their own, Tuatha warriors, the only thing that they really have going for them is sacred, stealthy. They're decently stealthy. They mirror image themselves without having to have a wizard cast it on them. They have 4 survival, so they have decent movement, and they have dark vision. That's not bad. In addition, their golden spear, decent stats, and their javelin, it's not really going to be used unless they're closing. Then the curious, it's pretty decent. The best part is the golden shield, to be entirely honest. But they cost 35 gold and 22 resources. Now, that's that one, and now this one, half the amount of resources, 25 gold, comparable stats, or comparable weaponry, comparable armor, comparable stats. Like, they're not much worse than your blessed troop, but they're pretty much half the cost. If you do not have a good blessing, do not get sacred warriors. And that's the thing. You could get 2 of these for 1 of these if your bottleneck is resources, rather than, in our case, it was actually gold, because our area was just horrendously placed. Let's just actually look at Helheim in comparison. They had the 2 woods, which I don't know if... Yeah, you can actually just jump over there, get these really quickly. There's no river blocking you off. That's one area, that's one province. Then they have Barovia, which is, yes, it's a throne, so that makes it harder to take, but if that's the case, then you just take the Mighty Pillars instead. And then by that time, you can hop back into Helheim, and then you can hop into Barovia. Oh, no, wait, they had a... Wow, this map had really bad placement for the capitals. That's saddening. In fact, this would have been a good map for an underwater place, just simply because if they started in any of these squares, they could have further... If they started in this square, or well, if they started in this square and then moved into this square, they could have access to Ictids, something like fish people. Like, these are the proper fish people, and then they just use the fish people to start taking the land provinces. Like, if they started here, then they could take the fish people, send their aquatic army to take here and here, while the fish people army built up in here, and then eventually took Valrest, Temeglia. And the thing is that as your fish people take these provinces, you can actually just equip land provinces and then just start rolling over. So the only real, like, the best, this map would have been actually the best for an underwater nation, which is simply because of resource placement. Because how your palaces work, because it's not just for your capital. You can build more palaces, but this was a very short game, so there wasn't really a reason to. Is they pull in resources based on their admin level. Well, their admin level is determined by the buildings that they have built. For instance, fortification, administration. A high administration value means the castle will be able to gather more resources from their neighboring provinces and tax the province more efficiently. It will also provide extra supplies for nearby troops, though the supply bonus decreases as troops leave the vicinity of the castle. Value indicates how many supplies will be stored on the blah blah blah. Cost 800, defense 700. Most of these stats don't really come into effect unless your palace is being actually attacked, which is actually it's a rarity I've found. However, administration. This means that they pull in roughly 40% of all the tiles around them. That may not seem like much, but that's how you get the really high level troops and buildings and whatnot. So yeah, it's... And then I think I'll probably just equip her with an owl feather just for shits and giggles, because this match is over. But yeah, this has been Rabbit, and this has been Dominions 4. I hope you have a bit of an understanding about how from that little rambling session about how my thought processes have been working up until now. If you need a further explanation, I'll try just list your questions in the comments below rather than on Discord, because commenting really does help. It really does. Just getting feedback on any of these videos really helps. But anyway. Oh yeah, when you win the game, apparently you get scouts in every area. Like it's scrying permanently. Oh, we could actually look and see if there was any magic sites. Apparently not. That sucks. I mean, this place had a merman village, so that's not bad. Place had a coral reef. 25 resources and 1 water pearl. Not bad. Like the reflection, astral pearl. So these places had great silver mine, 60 gold. We could have actually, yeah, Helheim actually had the superior start to us. I'm just gonna point that out. Yeah, it was hard to get across here, but a lot of their early units, they could have just built a Valkyrie squadron and just flown it over the river. It's that simple. Yeah, sorry about that. I was drinking some coffee and apparently I didn't get the straw entirely in my mouth. Shit happens. But yeah, just ask questions if you have them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'll probably play Katis or some other thing, maybe the Undergroundmans. But anyway, this has been Rabbit. This has been Dominions 4. I wish you a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.